Hey guys, Sleepy here, and welcome to a new discussion vlog. Today's topic is all about collecting tips. I wanted to share some tips I have for collecting. I've been collecting for a very long time. I've been playing games since I was 4 years old, but I've been really kind of hardcore collecting since 2000. So about 24 years I've been doing collecting for various consoles over that time. And I've learned a lot of stuff, and I've made a lot of my own mistakes. And I just want to share some tips with you guys to help you avoid some of the mistakes that I made in the past, as I have had a lot of newer collectors reach out to me, and people just ask me questions over the years. And so I've thought this would be a great topic for discussion. Feel free for you guys to leave any tips you guys have as well that you'd like to add to anything that I talk about. Maybe there's something I didn't talk about that you guys would love to add your tips to. And if you guys have a collection tip video or anything up, I'd always love to check those out, so let me know about it. I got my paper here with my bullet points on it so I don't forget, which I found has been very helpful for me in making these videos, because when I don't use the paper, I end up forgetting about topics that I wanted to mention in these videos. So I love having these papers now. It is kind of an old school way of doing things, but it works well for me. So my first tip for everybody is, to have fun with this hobby. I see way too many people that get so caught up in this collecting hobby that it doesn't become fun for them anymore. They have trouble sleeping. It keeps them up at night. They just become too obsessed with it and turn it into like another job or a business or whatever they do to it. They just take away from the fun factor. I mean, this hobby should be fun. It should bring you enjoyment. You go out and buy a game like this MXGP game, it should be fun because you had fun buying it and want to enjoy it. It shouldn't be bringing you stress. But that's one thing I would definitely say, is make sure you're having fun with this hobby. If you find yourself not having fun anymore with collecting and it's bringing you headaches and issues, I would say then you need to take a minute and step back from it. Take a little break, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months, a year. Just take time away from it if it's starting to bring you issues and dread and you're not having fun anymore. Then I would take the time to step back from this hobby. I want to make sure you have fun with it, because this hobby should be fun. So that's my main tip, is just, make sure you have fun with this hobby. You don't need it to become stressful for you. Number 2 would be to set clear, defined goals. And this is really important when you're collecting, to have goals, because if you don't, you'll just be out there collecting aimlessly, just buying in anything and everything under the sun. And it can cost you a lot of money financially and just cause you issues in general. So having clear, defined goals is great. Like, I would recommend, if you're especially new to collecting, pick just a couple of consoles, maybe 2 or 3 at most, because that's one of the mistakes that a lot of new collectors and people, when they first start out in this, is they try to collect everything under the sun for every console. And you're trying to get Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Master System, Game Boy Color, Game Gear. You're trying to get Dreamcast, Xbox 360, PS2, PS1. I mean, it just shows you how many consoles are out there, and there's just thousands of games. And so it can be kind of hard to know, like, where do I go first? You're just going in 500 million different directions at once. That's where, if you can set some clear goals for yourself, you can stay in target of what you want to achieve with your collection. So, definitely would suggest, create some great goals for yourself, which I do for myself every year, of like, these are what the things I want to accomplish this year. I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to get that, and stick to those goals, and they help keep me focused on what's important and help keeping me from straying off. Because when I first started really getting big into collecting, I kind of was just buying anything and everything under the sun. It didn't matter what the game was, the console, that's cheap, buy it. And you end up amassing a bunch of shit that you don't want that way. So having those clear, defined goals is just a great way to keep yourself focused, helps keep you from going too crazy, helps protect you from spending too much money and causing any other issues outside of collecting into like your personal life and stuff. And so with that, another thing too would be, like, with setting the clear goals, is don't go into debt collecting video games. I've known people who got credit cards and got $10, $15, $20, $30,000 in debt, and their spouses don't know about it, and it's financially hurting them, and they just keep having all this interest they have to pay. So, don't go into debt over video games and collecting. collect within your means, and again, set a goal of how much money you'll spend. Maybe it's $100 a month and you don't go above that $100 mark, or 200, whatever you can comfortably spend without having to burden yourself or worry that you or your family are going to get into any kind of issues at all. Make sure your bills, I'd make sure bills are paid for first, all the expenses are taken care of, and then if there's money left over, that's when you can have money for fun stuff. So you want to make sure that you don't go crazy and go into debt. I've seen people do that. It's really sad when you see that happen, and it's a shame. You don't want to have that. Set monetary limits. This is a great way. Like I mentioned, maybe $100 limit, $200 limit. Set a monetary limit for yourself. And once you reach that amount for that set period of time, then you don't buy anything anymore. Great way to keep you focused as well. Like, I'm only going to spend $200 this month. And so if I get 10 games, I get 10 games. If I get 2 games, I get 2 games. But you keep to that goal of setting monetary limits. Great way for you to keep from going crazy. Also, you could also do set buying limits, so you don't lose focus on stuff. You can make a max of how many games you're going to buy. And that's why I would recommend when I say, like, limit your consoles. So let's say you limit yourself to 3 or 4 consoles. Then stick to maybe just getting a handful of games, like maybe 5 or 10 games you really want, and then actually play those games before you go out buying more of them. It would be a great way to keep you focused. Like, you love the Xbox 360, so maybe you'll buy 10 games that you really love, something that look really cool, a couple different genres here and there, maybe some racing games, some first-person shooters, some action RPGs, and then you'll have a nice stack of games to play, and then you can focus on playing those games instead of just endlessly collecting. So that'd be another one I would recommend. Don't lose focus on these goals. Once you set them, try to stick to them. It can be kind of hard at times. I know you want to kind of stray off and get into other collecting and stuff, but you really want to stick to those goals once you have them set, because that's what I do. Like, this year, I've been working on finishing off my Xbox 360 set, so I have not buying Nintendo Switch games. I'm not really buying Xbox One or Series X games. I'm not buying PS3. I'm really just been focusing on the 360 games, and it's helped me to stay focused there and not lose sight and just start going crazy into buying other stuff. This is a good one here. Go at your own pace. Collect at your own speed. You don't need to go and collect just because you see me pick up 15 games. Doesn't mean you need to go and get 15 games. It's so easy to go online, any social media platform, YouTube, and see pickup videos, Instagram, and see pickup posts, Facebook groups, Twitter, which is now called X. It's so easy to be surrounded by people talking about the stuff they're buying, and some people are just spending tons of money. And, not everybody's situation is the same. Some people might have a lot more money than you do, or you might have a lot more money than them. So, go at your own pace. It's not a race. You don't have to acquire everything in one go. Let's say you want to get a goal of 300 PS3 games or 300 360 titles, whatever it is. You don't have to get it all right now. You can take time, whether it takes you 10 years to get it or it takes you a year or 2 years, just go at your own pace. Nothing says you have to go after it as quickly as possible, because that's the fastest way for you to get burnt out in collecting and to spend way, way too much money. Sometimes it's great to just wait and try to find some deals on these games, especially if something is hot at the moment. Maybe start collecting something different, go in a different direction. So definitely going at your own pace is great. You don't have to collect something just because someone else is doing it. Another one is the one I really, really recommend, and I've been recommending this a lot, is only collect the games you actually want to play and enjoy, and don't just pick up shelf filler titles. So, don't just buy a game because it's cheap. I've caught myself into that too. Like, oh, this game's $1, this game's $1, that game's $1, $2. Those little games add up. Like, you get 200 or 300 games at $1, that's $300 there. $2, you're $600. $5, you can see how it can just add up like crazy. And then all the game's doing is sitting and collecting dust on your shelf. Oh, look, it looks pretty great. It's cool. I bought this juice game for $4 from the store, but I don't like racing games, so I'm never going to play, but it's just going to sit on the shelf. Wouldn't you rather use that money to buy something you're going to actually want to play? Like, oh, I love Prince of Persia as an example, the Two Thrones. Wouldn't you rather buy this with that money instead of paying for a game like Juice that you might not want to play because it's a sports title, it's a race title, whatever it is, you know, I would recommend, especially when you're just starting out collecting, just buy the games you really want to play and experience. You'll have a lot more enjoyment in this hobby, you'll save a ton of money, and you'll have a collection built up that's curated of just some of the best games that you want to play, you know. Don't go for collecting everything. Don't get massive collections unless that's something you really want to go to. That's why I don't recommend doing a full set collecting, because you're going to be stuck with a bunch of shitty games that you're never going to want to play ever. And you're going to spend money on those, and they're just going to sit on the shelf, and you could rather spend that money on games you actually want to get and obtain for your collection. So I'd recommend just buying the stuff you really want to play. Don't go for everything. Here's a great one too. If you happen to make videos or you participate in social media stuff, is collect for yourself, not for others. You know, are you buying the games because you want to get them, or are you buying them because everyone and their brother is buying the game? You know, are you buying Star Wars Battlefront 2 here because everyone's buying it right now and it's the hot thing? You know, do you even really want it? Or are you just getting because you're getting caught up in the hype of everyone else getting it, you know? Or are you buying it just to make videos? Or are you buying it just to make post, share what you're finding? I've seen people get caught up in that too, where they were buying a bunch of stuff just because other people were buying it and they wanted to show it off on social media, and you can get really addicted to that. So you want to make sure, you know, are you collecting it for yourself or are you collecting it for other people? I collect for myself. I love Star Wars Battlefront 2. That's why I have it in my collection. I didn't buy it because other people loved it. I didn't buy it so I could show it off. I didn't buy it so it could sit on the shelf and you guys can see it in the background. I bought it so I could have it and play it. So definitely make sure you do that. Another one here, and I even made a video about this, was be aware of the influence and the addiction you can have with social media and with like collection addiction as well, as it's so easy for you to find like-minded people, and I have met a lot of great people on these different platforms, but it is really easy to get swept up into the whole fever of collecting, and you know, people are patting you on the back. Basically, you know, you show off, oh look, I found this Call of Duty Finest Hour for $1 and it's worth like $30, and people are telling you, oh yeah, great dude, yeah, great job dude, you did an amazing job there, and you like that hit there, you're getting those endorphin hits and it makes you feel amazing. Only problem is that it eventually will wear off, and like, well, you got the game, now I'm bored, so now I gotta go out and now I gotta get Fable, and you share the post and you get those endorphin hits again, and you know, you keep getting those same patterns where you just keep buying and buying and buying just so you can keep sharing and keep interacting with people, and you end up amassing a bunch of games that you don't want, and you end up spending a ton of money that you don't need to. So gotta be aware, there is addiction, and a lot of people don't mention the social media part of it. Is people are more addicted to the social media than they are the actual games they're buying. They're buying the games because they want to keep sharing, or they want to keep up with that friend. You know, oh man, my buddy's got a 600 Xbox games, I'm only at 200. Man, I gotta get caught up, I gotta go out and just start buying it. You know, ooh, fuck, if I have the money, I'll just get a credit card and put it on there. I gotta catch up to him. And easy way for you to get into trouble and get caught up financially and issues, you know, is getting addicted to social media. If you find yourself like getting way too addicted, then you have to take a step back from it, like I have done myself, where, you know, just like you have to stop with the sharing so much and keep your focus on what's important, what you want for your collection, and like playing the games more and stuff. So I have seen that happen. It's even happened to myself. And like, Jesus, I'm buying this shit and I'm just showing it off, and what the hell's the point of it if I'm going to be acquiring a bunch of crap I don't want? So, you know, make sure you watch out that. With that, you know, make sure you have, like when you're going at your pace, you know, just have patience. This isn't a race, and you don't have to acquire every game right now, because you never know when you're going to find a deal. Where I was worried that I was never going to get the Steel Battalion controller that was in the big box. You know, I wanted it boxed. I didn't want it loose. I had a chance to buy it many years ago for like $50 or $100 or something. It was a great price. And I was like, nah, I don't really want it. And I passed up on it. And then I went back the next day and it was gone. And I really regretted it. And I thought, well, I'm never going to get it because this thing's going for like $700-800 nowadays. And it's just worth a ton of money. So I guess I'll probably never find it. And I just happened to walk into one of my game stores here, and they happen to have one for $150. It's complete in great condition. And since I waited, I was able to get it for a great price. I didn't just go out and get a credit card and buy it on eBay for $1,000 and have it shipped here. I was patient and waited, and I was able to acquire it for $150, which is an amazing deal for that. And it's my favorite controller in my collection, and especially for my Xbox collection. It's my favorite piece for the original Xbox. So, just make sure you have patience. You don't have to get everything right away. You can take time to find a good deal out there. Maybe you'll find it at a thrift store or something. Make sure you wait and take your time. This one too. That's kind of a counter to that one, though, is also sometimes you don't want to wait too long for buying a specific game or something. So let's say like you like Ninja Gaiden or whatever, and the game's been out for a while, and you just keep waiting for a price drop, and then you start noticing that the price is going up the other way. Sometimes you might want to just take the time and buy a copy of a game, because if you wait too long, it might become unattainable. How like some of these 360 titles have become, to just skyrocketed in price. You could have got them for like $10 when nobody wanted them, but now that everyone and their brother wants a copy, now it's a $200 or $300 game, and you waited too long. So it can be, where I said, having patience, but at the same time, you also don't want to wait too long to acquire something. And this will work right into my next topic here, which is, it's okay to pay for a game you really want, to pay up for something. I know everybody in us, we love getting a deals, would love to get every game for $1 or 50 cents, but that's not the reality of today's collecting. That was 15 years ago. You're just not going to get everything for dirt cheap anymore. You're still going to find deals, but you're just not going to get everything for nothing. So let's say you have a rare game or something you really want. Let's say it was like a Mario title or a Zelda, whatever it is that you want. Let's say it's $100 game. It's okay to buy it for $100 if you really want it and you're going to play and enjoy it. Because wouldn't you rather have that game that you bought for $100 that you're going to play, or would you rather have 30 cheaper games that are just crap titles that are going to sit on your shelf and just collect dust and look pretty? I'd rather have the game that costs more, but it's one I know I'm going to play and enjoy, and I'm going to get enjoyment out of it. So you want to make sure that it's okay to buy something that you want, even if it's a little bit more money, because you're not going to find every single game out there for dirt cheap. It's okay to pay up for games sometimes for your collection. I know some people are like, no, I can't pay more than $10 for a game, but they'll buy 100 or 200 games at $10, and it's like, that couple $1,000s you spend on those games you don't really enjoy, you could have just used some of that and bought a few of the games you really do want. So I always say it's okay to pay up for your games if you have to, especially if it's ones you really want for your collection. Here's another good one, Actually take the time to play the games you're collecting, because as much fun as it is to go out game hunting, the thrift stores and the game stores and yard sales and garage sales, whatever it is, that can be really fun, but it's also fun to actually take the time to play these games, like this Ridge Racer Unbounded here. These were meant to be played and experienced and enjoyed. These developers put a lot of time into creating a world for you and stories for you, and it would be such a shame for you to buy all this stuff and not actually play and ever experience them. So that's why you want to make sure you do set some time aside to actually play the games in your collection. You don't want to get so caught up in collecting. I got caught up in collecting, and that's why in 2019 I created a goal to play the more games that I have in my collection over buying games, and I've been doing really well, and I even created my weekly gaming playlist series from that, and I've been doing that for 5 years now, and it has been a blast, and I've been doing really well with that goal. So make sure you set time to play these games. Now you're buying them, play them. There's no point to just collect them and never play them ever. This one too, I don't have many people really mention this, especially if you watch some of these different YouTubers and that share like pickups all the time or hunting videos, is you need to have a realistic expectation of what you're actually going to find while you go out game hunting, because not every area is the same. I know you can see some of these videos and it seems like every other day this guy's finding gold out there, but he's only showing, some of these people are only showing you the highlights. You know, they might go to 100 yard sales and hit gold at one, and they edit out all the crappy yard sales and only show you the good ones. You know, so just be aware that when you go out, you're not just going to be finding gold. You're not going to go to the Goodwill and you're going to find sculptors cut for the 360, and you're going to find 100 PlayStation 3 games, and you're going to find the rarest of rare stuff. You know, yeah, I'm going to the yard sales and I'm going to find a whole huge collection, and some old lady's just going to be selling her grandson's stuff. You know, you got to have a realistic expectation. Is you can go out hunting 50 times and might only find something once. And especially in today's day and age, because there's so much competition out there. There's so many more people going out and collecting this stuff. More people are understanding what their stuff is worth, so they're starting to ask for higher prices even at some yard sales and stuff. I've run into that myself, where like the new console at the time was PlayStation 3, and they had one for sale, and they wanted like $400 for it, and it was like $600 new. Like, they knew what they had, and that's what they wanted. I'm like, I'm not paying $400 at a yard sale for a PS3, but that's what they wanted. So you just want to have a realistic expectation of what you're going to find. You're not always going to find gold out there. You are going to be burnt a lot of times, and that's just what comes with the territory. And it depends on how your area is, because sometimes some people literally only have GameStop. They aren't blessed like I am, where I have all these wonderful game stores around with me. There's tons of them here for me to go to, so I have all those games I can get. Of course, you can always go on eBay and online, which will open up a world for you. But if we're talking about like local hunting and going game hunting and finding things in the wild, as people call it, that's where you want to have a realistic expectation of what you're going to find. It's not always going to be gold. And don't let it discourage you, because you have to be persistent. You know, keep going out. You know, you don't want to go crazy by going way too much. But just, you know, go out and don't lose heart. You know, just take your time. You will still find some deals out there. So it just may take a little while. It might be a few months dry spell. It happens. Everyone's area is different. It really depends on how many people you have in your area. Are they gamers? Are they not gamers? What's the population size like? Do you have game stores? Do you not have game stores? You know, that all those can be factors that can affect what you're going to find out there. So having a realistic expectation of what you expect to find is great. Here's another one. Take time to do research on the games and consoles. You know, you don't have to just start buying 360 games because everyone else is. You know, check out some videos on the 360. Hear about the specs of the console. Hear about the games. You know, does it sound like it's something I'd really enjoy playing? Like, it's like, you know, the Nintendo Switch or Game Boy or Nintendo DS. You know, does it sound fun? Does the handheld sound fun? Do you like playing on little screens? Do you like the kind of games they have for the console? You know, take time to do some research before you jump into buying a new console. You know, you want to watch several videos and talk to some people and just get some insight into these games and consoles before you buy them. That way you don't end up regretting, like, oh man, I really don't like handheld games and I bought a Game Boy and 30 games and I've wasted that money. You know, do some research and take your time before you just jump into buying stuff. Let's see. Next up here is now, don't be afraid to trade off or sell unwanted items, games, consoles, collectibles from your collection. Let's say, you know, maybe you bought BioShock and you're like, you know, this just isn't for me. You know, I'm not really into first-person shooters. Everybody said it was great. I gave it a try. Nah, I didn't really enjoy it. You can always sell this off to recoup the money. Sell it on eBay, sell it to friends. You can even trade it into game stores, what I'd love to do. Trade in unwanted stuff, and then you can use that money to buy the stuff that you do want. So, you know, there's always that option, too. You can always sell off and trade off things that you don't want. You know, maybe you bought it, you tried it, you didn't like it. I've got buddies who will buy games, they play them, they beat them, and then they trade them into the store and they move on to the next game because they're not really collectors. They just like playing games, and they're the kind of people that they're just going to play the game once, done with it, then they move on to the next game. You know, you can always do that. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Nothing says you have to build up a collection. You can always buy, play, and sell, and then buy nothing different and just play games. I've known people like that. Factor in your time, because it's valuable, and the gas you're going to use while going out game hunting and looking for stuff. You know, a lot of people don't ever mention this part, but like, you know, you're putting wear and tear on your vehicle, you're putting miles on it, and you're spending gas money. So maybe you went to 40 yard sales and you got a great game, you know, you got a $100 game for $20, but you spent $50 in gas driving around. You know, that's, you got to add that into that game. Wasn't just $20. Now that game was $70 because you spent so much in gas money. So you want to make sure, you know, you factor in the gas you're using and your time too. I mean, how many hours are you devoting to going out and collecting, because your time is valuable. You don't want to spend way too much time on collecting and going out game hunting 8 hours a day, 3-4 days a week, and you end up spending half your week tied up in just collecting and driving around and hunting and stuff. So you want to make sure you keep limits to the stuff you do, and that's where like having the goals will go into effect. If you are going to start selling off games, reselling stuff and flipping games to build your collection, which I know some people like to do, you want to make sure you understand the implications of that as far as it goes to taxes, because you do have to pay taxes on the stuff you sell, especially if you're selling on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. All of these places at the end of the year are going to send you a 1099, and you have to pay the tax on the stuff you sell. Now, you have to ask yourself, am I keeping track of what I'm paying? Because you really only have to pay a tax on the profit you made in the game. So if you bought the Serious Sam collection for $10 and you sold it for $30, you only need to pay the tax on the $20 you made, not the total $30, because you paid $10 for it, which is subtracted from it. So that's where I would say, if you're going to start selling a lot of games, because I've heard people talk about how they sold $20,000-$30,000 worth of video games that helped funded their collection, and because of it, that's a huge taxable bill, and they didn't set any money aside. So if you're going to really sell a lot of video games and just, flipping your way to a big collection or something, you're going to want to consult a tax professional to make sure that everything is kosher, that you're doing everything right, you're reporting what you're supposed to. Some things you can write off, some things you can't. You really want to make sure you research that kind of stuff, because you could get hit with a wonderful thing, the IRS, Uncle Sam coming to you like, hey, here's $30,000 in video games. Where's my money for? Did you set any money aside? Like, a lot of sellers and stuff, there's some great videos you can find on YouTube of people who talk about selling collectibles, and what they do is a side hustle, and they always recommend setting like 30% aside. But I would say consult a tax professional before you do something like this, where it's a side hustle or a side business, whatever it is, you're going to have to pay tax on the money, and people don't really ever talk about that part. You see these reseller channels on here and stuff. They don't really mention the legal parts and the tax stuff. So make sure you consult a tax person. You don't want to get hit with I owe $3,000 to the IRS and I didn't set any money aside for it. So, you don't want to get hit with something like that. That would be horrible. When you're at yard sales and stuff, make sure you ask if they have anything else, or Facebook Marketplace. Somebody has a game out and you see this Borderlands Game of the Year edition out there. It doesn't hurt to ask, hey, do you guys have any more games? Oh yeah, I got some Sega games. I didn't think anyone would be interested in this stuff. You never know what you're going to find out there. I found stuff like that from a yard sale before. Didn't have any games on. I just, just quick. I know a lot of people do this. And you were just like, hey, do you guys have any video game stuff? And a lot of times you might say, oh, no, yeah, we already sold it or not. But you never know. You might have something they didn't even think about. Oh, yeah, I got an old Nintendo thing. I didn't think anyone would want it. Sure, I could bring it out, see if you want it. And you can find stuff that way. It never hurts to ask. All they can say is no. So never feel bad about asking if they have other stuff for sale, especially if you're buying stuff from people. Because I remember when I bought a PlayStation 2 from a dude, I just asked if he had any games, and he's like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of games if you would be interested. And I found a bunch of games and a lot from him, and so I was able to bundle that console with a bunch of games for a great price. So, it doesn't hurt to ask. Here's what I like to do if you're looking for like handhelds to buy, like a Game Boy Color or something, is to bring batteries with you. Give me one moment, guys. I feel like my nose is running. Give me a second. Alright, sorry about that, guys. So I like to keep a few AA batteries with me or in the car, because you just never know. You'll find a Game Boy out there and you pick it up and, I wonder if this thing works. You could put batteries in and test it. Now, sometimes I know some people might not want to test it. You might get a better deal if you're like, if it's untested, I don't know if it works. But especially at thrift stores and stuff, if there's like a handheld, sometimes you'll see a Game Boy Color or something, I'll have batteries with me and I'll pop them in just to make sure it works, because why spend the money if it's broken? You could put the batteries in it, test it out real quick. So I do like to have batteries. A lot of people don't mention that. Like, have batteries with you. You never know. You could use it to test. which goes into testing out some of the stuff before you're buying it, if you're able to. So like if you go to a yard sale or you go to a Facebook marketplace meetup and you're able to test something out, obviously it'd be kind of hard to hook up a TV and a game console to it. But if, someone happens to have a handheld or something and you have those batteries, why not test it out? Make sure the games work. Take the time to go through the condition of the games you're buying, and just, okay, that looks good, okay, and buy it, because you never know. You open it, you might buy the game and get home and there's a crack in the disc or it's too scratched to hell. Take your time when you're looking to buy stuff to go over it, to make sure that it's worth picking up. Just because it's cheap, it's $1, it might be $1 because it's broken and it's scratched up and won't work. You don't want to just buy something just for the hell of it because it was cheap and then you can't use it. So I recommend testing and checking out the stuff before you buy it so you don't get stuck with broken stuff. Which also will lead me into another tip is, if you happen to have like a local game store that have those disc buffing machines, or you can buy them yourself, like those Eco Pros and the ones that are like thousands of dollars, like $3, $4, $5, and $6 and $10,000 machines. Those are the ones you want to use. I used to go to Family Video because they had those machines and they were amazing. And they would take that disc burn ring. If you guys had ever had a 360 where you would have it vertical, sometimes the disc would get dislodged and it would end up burning like a ring on the disc and would make it unplayable. I bought a game like that one time, not paying attention that that's what it had on it, and I was like, oh great, it's fucked. And a buddy's like, no dude, take it to Family Video, their machine could probably fix it. I brought it to them, it was like $3 and it was like brand new, and it works wonderful. And there's people that you can send to online as well. So if you have a really good game, even if you find a good deal on a game that's kind of scratched up, and you can have access to being able to resurface the game, maybe give it to a resurface place, have them fix it for you, and you might be able to save a game that way. Or if you're able to, you can always save the money to buy your own. I know people love those JFJ Easy Pros, and some people hate them and some people love them. I am looking down on the road eventually getting one of these resurfacing machines to help keep my collection pristine. It would be worth the investment, especially if you have a large collection. So, think of stuff like that. Just a couple more here. Make sure you're happy with what you have, and understand that we don't have to have everything. We as humans just love collecting. We love having stuff. We're always going to want more. I'm always going to want more games, but I've come to the realization, I don't have to have everything, I don't have to have every game under the sun. I don't have to have every console. Be happy and content with what you have, because not everybody has the stuff that you might have as well. Not everybody has the money. Not everybody is living the same kind of life that you might be living. You got to be humble, and you got to be appreciative of what you have and what you've achieved, and just be happy with the collection you've built up. It shouldn't bring you anger. It shouldn't bring you resentment. You shouldn't be upset about it. It should be fun. It should make you happy that you have these games. You should be happy that you can play Forza 2 whenever you want to, because not everybody has the money. Not everybody's able to live well off. Some people are struggling financially. Some people don't have the same luxuries that you do, and it can be easy to take for granted what we have. Like, we're pretty blessed when you have a big collection like I do of having games. There's people I know who would kill just to have 20 games for a console that they wish they could afford, but they can't financially afford it. So you gotta be happy and content with your collection, and just realize, we're always going to want more. There's always going to have that itch to buy something else, but it's okay. You don't have to scratch it sometimes. You can just say, hey, I'm happy with what I have, and I have reached that point in my collection. I pretty much have everything I want. And then the last tip here is one that I definitely is something to think about, because we're all not going to live forever. I'm 39, going to be 40 next year, and I have been thinking about this, having an end game for your collection. Like, what's going to happen to your collection if you die? What's your spouse or your kids or whoever going to do with your collection? Are you going to have them sell it off? Are you going to give it them to keep? You want to have that set up ahead of time so that you're the spouse or kids aren't just wondering, what the hell are we going to do with dad's or mom's shit now? You know, all these damn games, I don't want this crap. What am I going to do with it? Oh, it's just going to go to the landfill, or it's just going to get donated somewhere or given to a game store for no money, you know. You want to make sure that you set up what's going to happen with your collection when you get older, so that you're not blindsided or somebody else in your family isn't blindsided about what's going to happen to your collection. So have an end game and have a plan set up for your collection. You know, include it in your will of what you're going to do with this collection, especially if you have a massive one like me. You know, you want to make sure, what the hell are people going to do with it if you happen to pass away suddenly or you die from old age? What do you want to do with it? Because nobody likes having to take care of, like, your parents. I know I've had buddies before whose mom died and her house was just packed with stuff, and they had to get rid of couches and beds and TVs and tons of collectible plates and dolls and stuff, and a bunch of it just got thrown away. And my buddy just really got frustrated with all this shit that he had to deal with, you know, and had no idea what she wanted because she didn't really have a will set up. So, you know, want to make sure you have an end game for your collection. Like, what the hell am I going to do with it? And so I've been thinking about that as well, and I do have some stuff I've been thinking about, and I told my wife that if I ever passed away before her, you know, that she could go ahead and sell it. And I've told her, like, where to go and what to try to do to get the most money she can get for it, and she could then use that money to live on, that kind of thing. So you want to have those clear end game of what you want to do with your collection. But I hope you guys enjoyed this collection tips video. You know, there was quite a few tips that I wanted to share with you guys. It's just I've been doing this for a really long time, really hardcore for like the last 24 years. Just been buying a lot of stuff. I've lost my focus before too, where I got really crazy into variant collecting because I went and completed a complete North American original Xbox collection. I collected, I loved it, but then I wanted more. I was craving more, so then I started getting variants. Oh, this game has a sticker on it. This one came with a bonus CD. This other one game came with a DVD. And I started getting to promotional items, and I started getting to collectibles and stuff. And you can see how you can just start going crazy into everything. And that's where I had to rein myself in with goals and just setting realistic expectations for myself. But really enjoyed this video. Of course, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts as well, so feel free if there's any tips or tricks or anything out there that you like to do for yourself that you would love to add to this. I would love to read them. I'd love to read your comments. If you guys have any collection tip videos out yourself, let me know. I'd love to check it out. Feel free to share the link with me, as I'll post a link to your tips video as well. Put your name and say, hey, check out so-and-so's collection tips video for more great tips. Would love to share your guys' videos as well. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Take care. You guys have an amazing day, and Sleepy will see you next time.